Mr. Sergeant, probably ought to keep you in the picture and not the dog.
All right, with that, then, Mr. Dolezal, would you please begin the announcement? Still don't have any volume from you. While he's trying to figure that out, why don't we get the other announcements started? Is there anybody else that needs to announce?
Kathleen Savage, attorney ad litem for the child, Your Honor, ready.
Honor Swallow for the mother.
Charles Weatherby, attorney for the father. Mr. Sergeant, would you unmute and announce you're here?
In the Zoom meeting.
All right, we only got about half of what you said, Mr. Sergeant. Can you try that again, please? I want to make sure we can hear you.
I'm present.
Okay, I just need you to state your name for the record.
Matthew Lloyd Woodward Sergeant is present.
Thank you.
Goldie Rapson, Hill Country Casa, guardian ad litem supervisor. Barbara and Robert, if you'll unmute.
And Barbara Brischetto, Hill Country Casa, guardian ad litem for the child.
And Robert Brischetto, Hill Country Casa, guardian ad litem for the child.
Lindsay Ligon, belong permanency supervisor.
Yeah, I'm not getting any audio. I think maybe your mic is muted on your end, or your input is really low on your end.
Judge, I feel like I saw my client for a brief second.
You did.
Okay.
And then in a brief second later, she went away. Hopefully she comes back.
Okay.
Hello?
Is that my client?
Yeah, this is Marin Owings. I'm sorry, I've been having difficulties connecting.
Okay. Then that is Miss Owens. We don't have Mr. Doles on my phone yet. Go ahead and talk, Mr. Dozel.
Hello?
Yeah, we've got a disconnection. I'm just going to remove you from the video, and then we'll just have you here by phone.
All right.
Go ahead. Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead and announce, Mr. Dozel.
Yeah, John Dolezal for the department. I apologize for the problem.
Are you running a Windows-based computer?
Yes.
Okay, whenever we have a few minutes, restart it. Sometimes that fixes that problem. Sometimes
Okay,
it's just a bug in Windows. Okay, thank you. All right, anyone who's not an attorney or will be giving testimony, please raise your right hand. Thank you. All right, we lost Mr. Sergeant. I'm not sure where he went.
Yeah.
But we need to get moving on this status hearing, so hopefully he comes back. Okay. Ms. Lawrence, you're going to be giving testimony?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. And then Ms. Savage has a motion to modify visits on file. Have you all talked about that at all?
No, Judge.
Okay. Can we get testimony through the status hearing that would suffice for your motion to modify visits, do you think, Ms. Savage?
Yes, Your Honor, and the requests are pretty standard. What we ask the parents all the time, it just slightly differs from the order, so that's why the motion was filed.
Okay, we'll get to that through testimony then. All right, Ms. Lawrence, let's see here. Opal, the child, where is she placed right now?
She's with her paternal grandparents
In what county?
in Bendele.
What day was she placed there?
March 5th.
And is that placement safe and appropriate, meeting her needs?
Yes, it is.
Is it in her best interest to remain there?
Yes, it is.
And is she up to date on her checkups?
Yes, she is. She has a dental coming up on June 6th, just because she just turned 6 months.
All right. Any developmental concerns at this point?
No concerns.
Was she evaluated already?
She has an appointment that is pending. They sent in a referral at her 30-day for ECI. I apologize. I'm having some technical difficulties here as well.
That is the name of the game this morning. Don't worry about it. Okay, and then, is this the least restrictive placement available?
Yes, it is.
Did the parties hold a family group conference?
Yes.
Did both parents attend?
Father attended in person. We did mother's virtually. She was having some technical issues.
Did they both participate in the creation of their plan?
Yes.
Did they both review and sign it?
Yes, they did.
Do they both have a copy?
Yes, they do.
Did you all develop a permanency goal during your FGC?
Yes, we did. Permanency
What is
goal is family reunification, and the concurrent goal is relative adoption.
Are the grandparents potential long-term placements?
They have expressed to me due to their age, they are reluctant to become long-term placements.
Could you briefly set forth the service plans, just the big points for each parent? Please.
Yeah, so for Mr. Sargent, we have parenting classes, completion of an OSAR following all recommendations, individual counseling, psychological, psychosocial assessments, submitting to random drug tests throughout the life of the case, maintaining stable housing and keeping belong updated on the address, and providing proof of employment and income. And then for Miss Owings, we have also parenting classes, completing an OSAR following recommendations, engaging in individual counseling, submitting to drug testing, completing a psychological and psychosocial, and also obtaining stable housing and keeping us updated with the address and providing proof of employment and income.
You believe that those services are narrowly tailored to address the concerns that brought Opal into care?
I do.
And you believe that it's in the best interest of Opal for those services to be named orders of the court?
I do.
Is the current visitation schedule appropriate?
Yes.
Ms. Savage has a motion on file to modify the visitation plan. Are you aware of it?
Yes, I'm aware. I believe it's just to have the parents confirm beforehand.
Okay. You believe that's appropriate?
Yes, I believe that's appropriate.
There's no Indian child heritage in this case, correct?
Correct.
You believe at this point it's in the best interest of Opal to remain in the TMC of the department?
Yes, I do.
At this point, has either parent fully addressed the concerns that brought Opal into care?
Not at this time.
At this point, is it safe to return the child to either parent?
Not at this time.
Mr. Dole's only questions?
No question. Well, yes, as far as, right now, the father's listed as alleged, or what are we doing about that, or has that already been addressed?
Are you asking Miss Lawrence?
I'm asking, yes, Ms. Lawrence, I'm sorry.
Okay. All right.
Yes, sir. That has been addressed. I spoke with both parents. They are not sure why it's alleged. Matthew has signed the birth certificate and he was present at the birth.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Swallow?
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Lawrence, is needing to confirm the visit, I imagine it's 24 hours in advance. That's what you're requesting?
Typically, yes.
Is that what you're requesting today?
Yes.
And how are you most recently communicating with my client?
She has not been in communication with me, but I've been sending text messages and emails. She said that she prefers both, so I make sure to send both of those.
Okay. So if she confirms her visit via email, would that be sufficient?
Yes.
And was that all that is being requested that you know of?
That I know of.
Okay. You're not requesting anything else?
Not at this time.
Okay. And what about, I know there was a question as to Opal's immunizations. Was that figured out?
I'm not aware if that was figured out completely. I have a list of the vaccines that the parents would like Opal to have and the list that they would not like her to have. I believe there was some miscommunication at her last appointment. Grandparents decided, play it safe and not get any done because they didn't want to vaccinate her twice. So we're just trying to work on the records with that. I do believe Miss Owings has those records.
Okay. So you are in communication with my client regarding those immunizations?
Only in person when I see her at visitations.
Do you feel like you have sufficient information in order to plan Opal's medical care at this time regarding her immunizations?
I'm not sure at this time.
What's the current visitation schedule?
Every Wednesday for an hour at the Kerrville DFPS office.
Okay. Thank you. I pass the witness.
Ms. Savage?
In regards to Opal's placement, she is placed with the paternal grandparents, is that correct?
Yes.
However, it is still, even though the parents that know where she's placed, it's still required that they not just show up unannounced or show up to the property. Is that
Yes, correct.
Okay. Are you just asking that the court make that an official order that the parents do not show up to the placement's property or home while Opal is placed there?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. What vaccination specifically is the mother requesting Opal not have? If you're aware.
I don't have it in front of me at this time. The father did send me a picture, so I can go and try to look for that. Let me see here. So I have it in front of me here. They requested that she not get any live viruses, I believe, and that she has gotten her 2-month and 4-month and her RSV.
And did they tell you which pediatrician's office she received those vaccinations from?
They did not.
Okay. Have either parents been able to start in any services?
Not yet.
Okay. And as you stated, the mother has not been in communication with you recently?
Correct.
The only time you're able to see her is at visitations, correct?
Yes.
And several of the last visitations she's been late to?
The first 2 she was late. The last one we had this week, she was early.
Okay, perfect. And is that part of the reason for requesting of the confirmation 24 hours in advance?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Mr. Weatherby?
No questions, Your Honor.
Any other witnesses or follow-up, Mr. Dolezal? Mr. Dolezal, are you there?
The Department of Rest, Your Honor.
Thank you. Anybody else have any other witnesses or evidence?
Judge, I'd like to call my client, please.
All right. Ms. Owings, you there?
Yeah.
All right. Ms. Swallow's going to ask you a few questions. Remember, you're under oath.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Ms. Owings. This is your attorney. Where have you previously taken Opal to get her vaccines, if you have at all?
The first set of vaccines she got was from Mayweather. It's not Merriweather. Mayweather in Kerrville. And I do not I would have to go and look in my paperwork, but I took her to a second location in Bernie for her 4-month vaccines.
Okay. And do you know the street that doctor was on?
I know it was really close to HEB.
Okay.
But
and do you know which vaccine she's already... hold on. Do you know which vaccine she's already received?
I know her RSV for sure because they made a big deal about it. I think her DTaP, is that what
okay,
it's called?
Don't guess. Either you know or you don't, right? So do you not know?
I know she has her DTaP. I just don't know if those are the correct abbreviations for it.
Okay. So Ms. Owings, how is it that I'm supposed to get in touch with you?
Well, I just got service on my phone on Wednesday, so.
Is this the same number that I have, that you've always had?
Ma'am.
I'm sorry, what?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The 992 number.
I'll find it. Thank you. We need to talk further about this vaccine situation so your daughter's not double vaxxed. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
And are you receiving my emails that I send you?
Only when I have Wi-Fi.
Okay.
So
have you shown up to placement at all?
By placement.
Where your daughter is placed?
No, not once.
Okay. And have you not gone to a visit?
The only time I didn't go to a visit was when I was incarcerated.
Okay. And are you working on not being late anymore?
Yes, I was earlier than everyone else the last visit.
Okay. Are you understanding that the ad litem today is requesting that you have to confirm your visits 24 hours in advance? And if you do not, you will not have a visit if the court grants that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I pass the witness.
Any cross for Miss Owings?
No,
Yes, Miss Owings, you have your daughter's medical records on you, is that correct?
I have them somewhere in I have like a binder of important papers. Yeah.
Would you be able to provide those to Miss Lawrence at your next visit with Opal?
Yes.
Okay, and you understand the importance of making sure we have the medical history for Opal so that way she can get the proper medical care she's needing, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you don't have an issue with confirming your visits 24 hours in advance?
No.
Okay, and you don't have any issues of the court just ordering and making it very clear that you and Mr. Sargent cannot just show up to the grandparents' home, being that Opal is placed there at this time?
Correct. I have no problem.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll pass the witness.
Mr. Weatherby?
no questions, Your Honor.
Any other questions for anyone for this witness or any other witnesses?
No, Judge. I
No.
would just like to address the court when appropriate.
No questions.
Okay,
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Swallow.
Thank you, Judge. I understand that Ms. Savage filed this motion on behalf of Opal, but I'm not hearing the evidence that would support needing to put in basically some type of restraining order against my client when she hasn't even done anything that would show that she's a threat to placement. So, I think that actually works against her. I also, until she's, they're having to drive Opal there or something's happening and my client doesn't show, I think that imposing more restrictions on her, especially when her communication is limited, is going to prevent her from seeing her daughter unnecessarily.
Ms. Savage?
Your Honor, the mother's own testimony, she has no issues with these orders. These are standard orders that we ask from parents. We've got a small child who gets transported 1 hour each way. And so this would help confirm to parents to notify, yes, we will be there on time, and not having this baby be transported an hour, having to wait 30 minutes for the mother. Again, this is a very standard order, which Ms. Owings had no problem complying with. In addition, in regards to placement, this is just putting them on notice. Hey, you cannot just show up. I understand that this is the paternal grandparents, but they also want to ensure that there's not going to be any chance of Opal's placement being jeopardized. And so given that, again, these are pretty standard orders and the parent, Ms. Owings at least, has no problem following this, I would just ask that the court make those official orders today. And so that way, again, Opal's placement is not jeopardized. I'd also ask that Ms. Owings be ordered to provide any medical documents that she has in regards to Opal to the caseworker at her next visit, which should be this Wednesday. We need to know what vaccines this baby has had and what vaccines she is still pending. And we've been asking for this for about 3 or 4 weeks now. And so if we can have an order which just makes that a little clearer, I think it would be in Opal's best interest.
Anything else that you want to add, Mr. or Mrs. Bruschetto?
Only that we have visited both of the visitations for both of the parents twice. We have been by the home of the grandparents where the child is. And we've really been impressed with how happy this child is and how adaptable it is. So we're really, really pleased with the status right now of the child's. Well, we are looking forward to full transparency on the part both the parents and the grandparents, that they share with one another, that they share with the court what is really a true honesty is what we're looking for in all cases. And of course, that's a given. And I know that the parents have to go through hoops because that's the legal system. And so ultimately, we look forward to a permanent situation where the child is safe and stable and drug-free environment. So we're real pleased right now with the way things are, and we look forward to achieving that permanent goal.
Thank you. For the purposes of the status hearing, the court finds there's no Indian child heritage in this suit. Court finds that the placement of the child with the paternal grandparents in Bendele County is safe and appropriate, meeting Opal's needs and in her best interest to continue Court finds that she's up to date on her medical and vision checkups, and she will have her first dental on June the 6th. Court finds that she has an ECI appointment pending, but at this time is showing no obvious developmental concerns. Court finds that she is in the least restrictive placement available. Court finds the parties held a family group conference with the father attending in person and the mother attending virtually. Both of them participated in the creation of their plan. They have both reviewed and signed their plan. Court takes judicial notice the plans are on file. Court finds that the goal developed at the plan is family reunification with the concurrent goal of adoption. Court finds that the plans are narrowly tailored to address the concerns that brought Opal into care, and that it's in the best interest of the child to make those plans orders of the court. Court finds that the current visitation schedule is appropriate. I don't think there's any problem with the confirmation with the child that has to travel an hour each way. So I'm going to grant them part of the motion, asking for the parents to confirm 24 hours in advance. Based on what I've heard today, I could see why that might be a concern, and just to alleviate that altogether, I'll grant that. However, as far as showing up at the placement, the order that I'm going to make is that if the parents violate the sanctity of the placement, if they show up unannounced, if they call or do anything, they try to make any contact outside of what's allowed from this point forward, then there will be an automatic no contact order. I'm not going to do it yet because I haven't heard enough evidence to suggest that this is a problem at this time, but it's going to be a no questions asked if there is an issue, if it does pop up in the future. So Ms. Owings and Mr. Sargent, you need to understand that you cannot go to the grandparents' house without permission from the parties, and that hasn't been granted yet. You can't call outside of your visitation schedule, any of that, and then there's going to have to be a no contact order. I don't want to do that, so don't put me in that position. Court finds it's in the best interest of the child to remain in the temporary managing conservatorship of the department. Court finds that as of today, neither parent has fully addressed the concerns that brought Opal into care, nor is it safe to return Opal to either parent at this time. I'm going to order Ms. Owings to provide all medical docs and vaccination docs that she has or that she can get her hands on from a medical provider to belong at her next visit. Our next hearing is going to be our initial permanency hearing, August the 9th, 2024 at 10 a.m. August 9th, 2024 at 10 a.m. Court will distribute a discovery control plan and a pretrial scheduling order. Please review those for dates and times of your future hearings, as well as rules and deadlines pertaining to discovery, and sign them as appropriate. I have to admonish the parents that the state of Texas gives parents in CPS cases 12 months to demonstrate you can provide a safe, stable, violence, and drug-free home for your child. If you cannot do so, your rights to your child are subject to restriction as they are now, or termination. Mr. Dolezal, is there anything I failed to address?
No, Your Honor, complete. Thank you.
All right. I look forward to seeing a lot of progress in between now and the next hearing, Mr. Sargent and Ms. Owings. Okay. Good luck to you both. And for everybody else, thank you for your time and your service, and all parties are excused.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, Your Honor.
All right. I don't think Mr. Dolezal has any objections either, but go ahead and begin the announcements if you would, Ms. Pearsall, while we're waiting for him to come back in.
All right, child's attorney, you ready?
Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
All right. I don't know what's going on here. I'm sorry.
That's
I've
okay.
never had these problems before.
It's your time to announce.
John Dolezal for the department.
All right, Ms. Wagner.
Amber Wagner, adoption specialist with Belong.
Laura Martinez, adoption supervisor.
Okay. Patricia Putnam, Hill Country Casa, guardian ad litem for the child, Amy.
Okay, so I've reviewed the reports. Get back to yours, Ms. Wagner. Primary permanency goal, still alternative family, relative, fictive kin adoption. She's on Tear. She's on US Adopt Kids, and she's been featured in a few other things as well. You believe that permanency goal is still in Amy Lee's best interest?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And report shows that she's up to date on her medical, dental, and vision, but she needs a little bit of, possibly might need some corrective dental work.
Correct.
You believe all of her needs and in that regard are being met?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And she's still doing therapy?
She is once a week individual and once a week equine.
All right. CASA had it in their report that she probably needed to be released from equine therapy. How does Belong feel about the equine therapy?
She's never really enjoyed going to it. She was only going because she was made to. I don't have any problem with her not doing equine therapy anymore.
You just not like riding horses or what?
I don't know. She just didn't. She never really enjoyed it. Like from the minute she started, she complained about it every single time.
I'll take her spot. I miss riding horses. All right.
I'm not sure it's worth the 5-hour drive to the horse.
Hey, it could be. It could be. Horses are fun. All right. Do you believe that all her educational needs are being met?
Most definitely, yes.
How are her grades?
She has all A's. She's got two C's, but mostly A's and B's. But everything's, she's always a passing student. She does great.
Okay. You're still her educational decision maker?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you all have a circle of support after Christmas?
Yes, we had it on, I think it was February 2nd, I think.
Okay.
Yes, February 2nd.
And any new developments come out of that?
Nothing really from that, but we've had other developments since then with other things, but not really there at that meeting. Just everything was kind of status quo, trying to see where we were with her.
All right. And she's still is it in Parker County, the placement she's in?
It's in, she's in Fort Worth. I don't remember what.
Yeah, Parker County, I think is what we had last time, unless she was moved. I showed that she was moved in October. She hasn't been moved since then, has she?
No.
Okay. Is that placement safe and appropriate, meeting her needs?
It is, yes.
Is it in her best interest to remain there?
Yes.
The least restricted placement available right now?
Yes, sir.
Any other specific reasonable efforts that Belong has made in order to achieve the permanency goal?
She does have a new Wendy's Wonderful Kid recruiter that has been working with her and has reached out to her sister Teddy in California, who is now a little bit older and is willing to wants her to come visit this summer, and is also thinking about making a way to be permanency for her.
I saw that as well. And you believe that that's an appropriate alternative to explore at this time?
I do, yes.
Did she get her social security card and state ID?
She has not, no.
Okay. How are we?
She just turned 15 today.
Okay. Oh, happy birthday. Please let her know that I said happy birthday when you speak.
I will. I'm going to call her this afternoon. I'll let her know.
Okay, thank you. All right. Mr. Dozal, any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Pearsall?
What's the plan for her visit with her sister?
I think we were talking about maybe two-week visits in the summer. That way we don't overwhelm either one of them with each other quickly. We haven't quite figured out what days or whatever, because school hasn't been out yet, but as soon as we get done, I'll get with everybody and try to figure out when we can go, and I'll get with Jackie because she's really been speaking with her about this. We'll get it figured out.
And where does the sister live?
She's in California. I want to say San Diego.
And are you asking that the court authorize travel to California for 2 visits this summer for the child out of state?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you believe that to be in her best interest?
I do, yes.
Now the questions, Judge.
What are your thoughts on everything, Ms. Pearsall?
Judge, I was much happier last time I visited with Amy. I visited with her a few months ago, and she was rude, obnoxious, and impossible, which I've never seen her be like that the entire time I've known her. She was just like truly in a bad mood and not doing well. She also, it was the first time I've ever heard her say, "Oh, I don't care about my grades," and that's just stupid. Usually she really wants to succeed. So I was really worried about her. This last time, she seems to have gone back to more or less normal Amy. She's back to caring about her grades. She's behaving on the cottage. She seems to be doing well in school. So I'm glad she sort of, seems to be doing better again, the way she's been, honestly, most of this case. She's very excited about visiting with her sister. She does not want to do two-week visits. She really wants to go there for a month at a minimum. So she asked me to communicate that to the court. We've discussed this at length between Belong and CASA, and I understand why they are suggesting it be 2 periods and it still gets her 2 months, but she would really like it to be, a whole month, so I'm communicating that. Judge, as far as equine therapy, I actually think she enjoyed equine therapy when she first began. However, based on what she wants now and based on how much replacement complains, which is sort of nonstop, this equine therapy seems to be the biggest issue in her placement. She starts fighting them the minute they ask her to leave school. Only when it comes to the therapy, she gets there, she is rude, she curses, she does not want to have anything to do with it. Now, the placement did communicate with me that the person that used to do equine therapy and was in charge and the actual therapist has quit that place and is actually now working for the placement. And so the new people who took over equine therapy are doing a really terrible job. And it's not just Amy, it's every other kid in their placement who wants nothing to do with it. So I think there is reasons, and it seems to be truly the only thing that causes a lot of havoc in this child's life, and a lot of misbehavior is that. So I don't see any reason for her to continue that, and she very much hates it and doesn't want anything to do with it.
Well, I think I'm getting a consensus from everybody that we probably need to get rid of that equine therapy, but hey, we gave it a shot. Thank you, Ms. Pearsall. Ms. Putnam?
Sorry, things are real garbled. Yes, Amy, her attorney is very right. She's gone through a real rough period when she's been very, very rude and not the same child. Anyway, she's coming along, and I know she wants to go for 2 weeks, but for a whole month, but I really feel like that would be a mistake. I think if she goes for a week and it goes well, then we can do another visit, but I don't want her to get the idea that it's automatic for her to go out there, because we don't know much about the sister right now. And that needs to have some exploration before, we go for long periods of time. She does want out of the equine therapy. She's made that very evident, but she doesn't like being in regular therapy either. She's incredibly rude to her therapist at times. But overall, she's still plugging along and she's doing what she needs to do. I do believe her grades have come up a little bit. She was not doing well in math, but she refused to do counts. Making a little progress now.
You're a little garbled, but I think I got the gist of everything. So thank you for that, Ms. Putnam. Okay, then for the purposes of the permanency review after final order, the court finds the permanency goal of alternative family, relative, fictive kin adoption is appropriate and in her best interest. Court finds that her placement in the GRO is safe, appropriate, meeting her needs, and in her best interest to remain there at this time. Court finds it's the least restricted placement available. Court finds she's up to date on all of her medical, dental, and vision checkups, and that her individual therapy is appropriate. Court finds that it's no longer in her best interest to continue in the equine therapy and hereby releases Amy of that obligation as well as the placement. Court finds that her medication review is up to date, and that despite a rough patch, she seems to be doing well overall at this point in time. A lot of this, she's turning 15 today. She's a teenager. She's going through a lot. She's in care. So, and I know everybody knows this, so I'm just going to have to cut her a little slack for some of these behaviors, because to me, in this situation, it's normal for this age. I would like for her to continue to engage in the therapy, even if she doesn't like it. But we'll get rid of the equine therapy and just chalk the rest up to 15-year-old teenager in care. Her educational court finds her educational needs are being met, and her grades are good, and it's still in her best interest for Ms. Wagner to be her education decision maker. You're also her medical consenter, correct, Ms. Wagner? Okay. Court finds that's in her best interest as well. Court finds that Belong has made reasonable efforts towards achieving the permanency goal and working with Wendy's Wonderful Kids and a few other TARE and a few other entities that are helping look for potential placements for adoption. Court finds that it's also making reasonable efforts in looking at the family member in California, Teddy. I'm going to go ahead and order those travel visits. Those are authorized as long as everybody continues to agree that they're in her best interest. If something comes up, somebody finds some information and there's a concern, then we need to come back to the drawing board and make sure everybody's still on the same page. So my order is contingent upon the status quo, remaining the status quo with Teddy. I'm going to order Belong to continue to look into her social security card and her ID now that she's 15. I just don't want to get too far behind the ball on that. And our next hearing will be October the 11th, 2024 at 10 a.m. October 11th, 2024 at 10 a.m. Anything I failed to address?
Your Honor, just for my clarification, you said that the travel visits are authorized. Is that the two-week periods or?
Yes.
Okay.
That was my understanding as to what, I know she preferred a whole month, but it was my understanding that it was more appropriate to do two-week visits, correct?
All right. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, then thank you all for your time and your service. If nothing further, all parties are excused. Judicial District Court of Bandera County, Texas. Court is streaming outside of Bandera County by Zoom and YouTube. Are there any objections?
No, Your
No
Honor.
objection.
No, Your Honor.
All right. With that, then, Mr. Dozel, will you please begin the announcements?
John Dozel for the department.
Katarina Lewis, Belong Permanency Specialist.
Lindsay Ligon, Belong Permanency Supervisor.
Irene Acosta, attorney for the respondent mother, Brandy Carroll. Brandy, can you please unmute and announce?
Brandy Carroll, Lane's mother.
Richard Saldivar, attorney for the father, Mr. Rumsey. Mr. Rumsey, will you announce?
Matthew Rumsey, Lane's father.
Deborah Fuller, attorney ad litem for Lane.
Goldie Rapson, Hill Country Casa, guardian ad litem supervisor.
Barbara Oates, Hill Country Casa, guardian ad litem.
Anybody else that needs to announce? Ms. Lewis. Permanency goal at this time is family reunification.
Yes.
And there's no Indian child heritage in this case.
No.
Placement safe and appropriate in meeting Lane's needs.
Yes.
And is it in his best interest to continue there?
Yes.
Is this the least restrictive placement available?
Yes.
He's up to date on his medical, dental, and vision.
Yes, he is.
Okay. And then those dietary needs that he has are being appropriately addressed.
Yes.
And is he still in occupational? I think I said I saw OT, PT, and something else, correct?
Yes. OT, speech, and physical therapy.
Okay. And are those therapies necessary and appropriate?
Yes.
You making progress?
Yes, he is. He's beginning to crawl.
Good. And I noticed he's on a few medications. Are those appropriate?
Yes, they are.
How are the visitations with the parents going?
They're going well. They have 2 hours right now in Houston weekly, and they go well. We want to increase those visits. We're just trying to kind of figure out the logistics because Lane has a G button now, and he has feedings that are scheduled, and he has a lot. I mean, it's a lot of equipment to transport, so I'm just trying to figure out the logistics of that.
So if I were to order, if the parties were authorized to increase those visits, do you think it's appropriate in this case, considering the circumstances and the cooperation of the parents, to allow the parties to kind of dictate time and duration based on his medical needs?
Yes, we have discussed that, so I believe that's appropriate.
Okay. All right. Report reflects that both parents are in compliance.
Yes,
They both have a copy of their family plan of service,
yes,
and you believe that they both understand what's expected of them based on your conversations with them.
I do.
Were there any other family members or anybody else that we were studying?
Yes, we did study a fictive kin. Her name is Kim McLeod. She lives in
Okay.
Pipe Creek. We did approve the home study. However, not all parties are in agreement to move him, so we have not done so.
Okay. I had a note that we had ordered an expedited home since. I just wanted to follow up on that. Okay. As of today, is it safe to return Lane to either parent?
Not at this time.
As of today, has either parent fully addressed the concerns that brought Lane into care?
Not at this time.
And are you asking for Lane to remain in the TMC of the department?
Yes, at this time.
Okay. Mr. Dolezal, any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Acosta?
Yes, thank you. Ms. Lewis, what else does the mother need to do at this time to remain in compliance?
Continue her parenting classes, her random drug testing, continue meeting with her counselor, and continue therapies with Lane when she's able, and maintaining a safe and stable home.
Okay. Have you been to the parents' home?
Yes, I have.
And is it safe and appropriate at this time?
Yes.
Okay. With regard to the fictive kin that was studied, Kim McLeod, is it your understanding that she would be able to meet Lane's needs?
She has stated that she would be able to meet them, yes.
Okay. And Pipe Creek is substantially closer to the parents than Houston. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
If Lane was closer to the parents, do you think that it would provide Lane and the parents more opportunities for them to engage in his therapies?
Yes, I do.
Do you think that it's important, given the goal of family reunification, that the parents be given as many opportunities as possible to engage in his therapies with him?
Yes.
Okay. And that reasonably could occur in Pipe Creek, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Are there providers in and around Pipe Creek that would be able to provide occupational therapy, speech therapy, and physical therapy to Lane?
I have not looked into that at this time, but I believe there are, yes.
Okay. And so at this time, is it a fair statement to say that all of Lane's medical, physical, emotional, all of his needs could be met in a placement that is closer to his parents, correct?
Yes.
Would you say that that would be a less restrictive environment for him, considering the distance from his parents?
Yes, that would be considered.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Mr. Saldivar?
Yes, as far as the father, what does he have left on his service plan?
He just needs to continue his counseling with Trisha Boone, continue his drug testing, along with the parenting classes as well.
Okay. As far as right now, are there any concerns with Mr. Rumsey's drug testing?
No.
Okay. And is Mr. Rumsey employed at this time?
Yes.
Okay. And as far as the current doctor visits that the child's attending, have the parents been able to participate? I know that they're pretty far away, but have they been able to participate in any way?
Yes, they have. They were able to be there during his G-button surgery. And I've been getting them on therapies. Mr. Rumsey has not been able to be on as many therapies as Ms. Carroll due to his work schedule though.
Okay. but mom is there for those. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, as far as the providers for medical treatment for the child in Pipe Creek, would you agree with me that if there's not a provider, more than likely Bexar County would have one to assist the child? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you said the home study was approved, is that right?
Yes.
Is Belong opposed to moving the child to this home study with this fictive kin?
No, we've approved the home study.
Okay. And any other concerns for Mr. Rumsey at this time?
Not at this time.
Okay. Pass the witness.
Ms. Fuller?
Ms. Lewis, you said the parents are in compliance. Were they asked to do an OSAR at the status hearing?
Yes, they were.
Have they done it?
Miss Carroll has, Mr. Rumsey has not.
Mr. Rumsey, he's been to one counseling session and we are at the 6-month mark in this case.
Yes.
So how would that be in compliance if he's only been to counseling one time and this case opened in December?
I do have concerns of them canceling their appointments with their counselor. Yes, that has been a concern.
And mom has canceled as well, correct?
Yes.
And isn't it true that in Miss Joni Chavez's notes, it says that mom does not recognize the impact of the health?
Objection, hearsay,
Objection, hearsay, judge. If she wants the therapist to testify, she needs to call her as a witness, and she's not
I
here.
will rephrase, Your Honor. Have you spoken to Miss Chavez Martel?
Yes.
Does she have any concerns about their ability to understand his health needs? Or Miss Carroll?
Ms. Chavez has mentioned that at this time, yes.
In regards to the visitation and the therapies, they've been allowed to participate via Zoom, correct?
Yes.
But they haven't requested to do that very often, have they?
They have not, but I try to schedule them as much as I can.
Yeah, my point is, though, they've been allowed to, but they haven't.
Yes.
Okay. And in regards to the psychological, did they finally do that?
Yes, but I do not have it back yet.
Okay, but they did cancel at least one appointment.
Yes.
And the parenting classes, at the last hearing, the judge ordered special needs parenting classes. They're not going to any special needs parenting classes, are they?
Not at this time.
So I'm kind of trying to understand why you're saying they're in compliance. They've had very few counseling sessions. They haven't done an OSAR. They're not doing special needs parenting. So how are they in compliance with their plan of service?
When I wrote the report, I felt like they were in compliance. I felt like they were engaging, but I guess it would be partial compliance at this time.
Okay. And they've talked a lot about the home study. Miss McLeod, she's no relation to this child, correct?
No.
And she hasn't really been around this child.
I don't believe so, no.
And you say that she understands his needs, but did you specifically talk to her about his special needs?
I have talked to her about them. I mean, we have not gone into extreme depth, though, no.
Okay. And in her home study, she thought that he could go to daycare or something of that nature. Can Lane go to daycare at this time?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. You talk about his therapies and his medication. What other special accommodations does he have in the home?
He has his G button, which comes with a bunch of equipment. He has a specific, I mean, he has a lot of specific feeding times when his medication is, very strict schedule.
And are you aware if Miss McLeod has any idea how to take care of a G button?
She has stated she has, but I've not been able to physically see her do it, no.
Okay. And don't you feel it's important for the parents to learn how to take care of a G button as well?
I do.
And although, I mean, I feel it's really important that they've been going to Houston and they've been consistent with that. They haven't been consistent with any of their other services.
Yes, that is a concern, especially the canceling of appointments.
Okay. And where are we at with the special needs parenting? Because that's extremely important in this case.
Yes, I will follow up on that. We did contact Any Baby Can, and they said they were going to send us some resources, so I will follow up on that and let you know.
Okay. And how is Lane with strangers?
He is a little anxious. I will agree with that. He's gets anxious. Yeah.
Okay. And so right now he's finally on a excuse me, uphill swing, correct?
Yes, he is.
He's gained some weight.
Yes, he's 27 pounds.
And when he came into care, what, he was 15 maybe?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. He's actually starting to be able to crawl,
Yes.
but he's like over 2 years old.
Yes, yes.
So crawling should have been back when he was under 1 year old, correct?
Yes.
So he's very developmentally delayed.
Yes, he is.
So is it concerning that in the counseling notes that hasn't been even addressed yet?
Yes.
And don't you think it's important for the parents to be able to understand where he should be at this time and at his age, and understand what all the therapies that he needs?
Yes.
And do you feel that placing him back with the parents instead of another placement would be better in the future once he is able to stabilize?
Yes, I do believe that would be a good option as well.
Especially since we're not even sure that Ms. McLeod has any training, anything to be able to take care of this child.
Yes.
So are the parents going to do the OSAR?
I will get Mr. Rumsey to reschedule his OSAR, yes.
Okay. And all the drug tests have been clean though, pretty much?
Yes.
So how are you going to accommodate any training for the G button with the parents? Can that be done during their visitation?
That's what I'm hopeful for. I'm gonna dig into that and see how we can do that, because I know it's very important for them to know how to feed him.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Sean.
Mr. Dolzal, any redirects?
No follow-up, Your Honor.
Anybody have any other witnesses they wish to call?
Your Honor, I have a couple more questions for Ms. Lewis, if I may.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Ms. Lewis, how many counseling sessions has the mother missed?
I believe Ms. Chavez mentioned 1 or 2. I think it may have been 2. I will have to follow up.
So she's missed maybe 1, maybe 2.
Yes, I believe it was 2, because I spoke with her on last week and Ms. Chavez was concerned that she had missed.
Okay. And just to clarify, mom took her OSAR, correct? She completed it.
Yes.
Okay.
April 4th.
And mom has been engaging in therapies with the child, correct?
Yes, she has.
Okay. Do they have the schedule of when therapies occur?
I'm going to start on, so therapies are very random, the way they work in the Harris County area. So I'm just in a lot of communication with Ms. Carroll and the foster mom. But we do have a schedule of when we think they're going to come. Yes. But Ms. Carroll.
Okay, so it's not a definite schedule where mom absolutely knows when therapy is going to be.
Yes. I mean, they come on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It just depends on the time. The time is kind of up in the air, but the day is set and scheduled.
Okay. But again, it's not a set time.
Yes. That is what the foster mom.
Okay. With regard to the special needs parenting, that's something that the department or Belong was going to set up for the parents, correct?
Yes.
Has that referral been sent out?
No.
Okay. So it's at no fault of the parents that they haven't taken a special needs parenting class because it was supposed to be facilitated by Belong. Is that correct? And the referral has not been sent out.
Correct. I have not been able to find a special needs parenting class. They are in a parents as teachers program, but it's not special needs.
Okay. What other avenues have you been exploring to find a special needs parenting class, since it is so incredibly important for this case?
Yes, we have called Any Baby Can. We've called a few other places. We have not had any luck, but I will follow up with them, because Any Baby Can did say that they would send out us some referrals in that area. So I'm hopeful that they'll have something for us.
When the department conducts home studies on prospective placements, do they take into consideration the needs of the child?
Yes.
So when this home study was completed on Ms. McLeod, it anticipated Lane's special needs. Is that correct?
Yes.
And it was approved. Is that also correct?
Yes.
So we have an approved home study closer to the parents with an individual who is able to care for Lane. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, we're about out of time. Any other questions for Ms. Lewis?
No, Your
No, Your Honor.
All right, any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Fuller, what are your thoughts?
Well, I am very concerned. I was under the impression that the parents were really fully engaged in all the services and just received notes from the counselor this week. And Mr. Rumsey has only gone one time to counseling, and the case opened in December 12th. Ms. Carroll has gone at least 5 times, but again, we're 6 months into the case. So I'm concerned that neither one of them have addressed the reasons why this child came into care. The special needs parenting, I mean, Belong was supposed to set that up. I agree. But if this child's going home to the parents, they need to get on the ball and find services themselves, because he's going to need this for a long time. He's not going to be miraculously better because CPS steps away in 6 months. He's going to need therapies for a long time. So they could also attempt to find some therapies in their area, you know, for when he comes home, and do some special needs classes on their own. I agree that Belong was supposed to set it up. I didn't realize they hadn't even done the referral. That is very important for this child. The OTPT speech, they've been told that they can attend. I was under the impression that, I mean, the days are pretty much set when they have it, although there's other children in the home, but they've been told they could at least see it, or even we talked about extending the visits so they could actually do some of the therapies in the visits. So we're at a point where, you know, the OSAR hasn't been done, the psychological was just done, you know, they're not in special needs parenting, and they're not engaged in counseling, fully engaged in counseling. So I'm very concerned. I thought they were completely in compliance until this week when I received all this paperwork, and I don't think they are. And this child has severe needs. You know, he is doing really well. 27 pounds from when he came into care. You know, he looks healthier, but again, he's 24 months old and, well, 26 months old, and he just started crawling. Anyone who's had children understands that's not on target at all. So he's just starting to learn things that he wasn't given an opportunity to as a child. He can't even eat solid food yet. You know, I think the parent, Ms. McLeod's home study, yes, I agree. It said it was approved. There was nothing in this home study that said that they addressed the severe needs of Lane. You know, it said she thinks she understands why the child was removed. I mean, that's not enough for this child. He needs these therapies. He needs to make sure that people are on top of this. He cannot be in a daycare. He gets sick very easily. He has his immune system is compromised because of, you know, the lack of care when he was younger. And so bouncing him around to a home that doesn't even understand the removal and is not, as a friend of somebody's dad, doesn't even know the child, when he is finally improving, to me would be detrimental, would be a major setback for this child. And I hope the parents understand that this is their opportunity to really learn how to take care of this child. He had needs that weren't met when he was in their home with his thyroid, but this is more than just not having WIC and not having Medicaid. This is feeding, medication, therapies. And I'm not sure we're there even close to it at this point after reading all the notes and everything, Your Honor. I'm very concerned.
Thank you, Ms. Fuller. Casa?
Judge Casa concurs with the attorney ad litem. We feel like Lane is best served remaining where he is at due to his, I won't call it fragile anymore, but his complicated medical recovery. He's made enormous progress. I was there with him on the 1st of May. It's the first time that I saw him actually crawl. It's the first time I actually saw him developmentally make some exchange. When I was on the floor playing with him, that he would make eye contact, that he'd laugh. I think it would be detrimental to move him now. These are our main concerns. Can he get the services that he needs in a rural setting? And has the search already begun for that, whether it be special needs parenting, whether it be, you know, the OTPT physical therapy. Also, our concerns are that the parents get training for G-button care, because he does have these enteral feedings, and it isn't just giving him medications every day. It is complicated. We want the parents to fully understand that. When I was there on the 1st of May, it was my understanding that the first therapy that had been attended via Zoom was the 30th of April, the day before. And so we need to make sure that we help the parents get the training that they need before this child is moved. So our guidance is that he remain in the current placement until he's released by medical specialists that say, look, he's gotten to the point where maybe he's stepped up taking food other than just pureed food, that he is able to chew and swallow. We have no word how long the G button's going to be in, but keeping that clean and well taken care of right now is enormously important. And we also just want to make sure that the parents are completely comfortable with that their schedule allows them to make all those appointments, because right now, so much of his care is coming into the home of the foster parent, and there's just a rural setting will complicate things some. So we appreciate Belong doing some legwork on that, finding out about special needs parenting, what kind of therapies will go into the home for them, and what kind of therapies they will have to travel for. So it's our recommendation at this time that he remain where he's at, and our hope is that we wouldn't have to move him interimly someplace else, because we do believe that will be somewhat traumatic. For the first time, he let me hold him and play and laugh with him, but I do know that in previous visits with other people who haven't been around him, that he does get some stranger anxiety, and we just don't want that to be disruptive. He's in a good place right now, making enormous progress.
Thank you. For the purposes of the initial permanency hearing, court finds there's no Indian child heritage in this suit. Permanency goal of family reunification at this time is appropriate. Court finds that the Fort Bend County placement is appropriate, safe, meeting child's needs, and in his best interest to continue. Court finds that Lane is up to date on his medical, dental, and vision, that his special dietary needs are being appropriately addressed, and that he is receiving OT, PT, and speech therapy. Court finds that his medications that he's receiving are appropriate, and that the visitations with the parents are appropriate at this time. As I stated earlier, or we alluded to earlier, I will order that there be an increase in visits as long as the parties work together with Lane's special needs to make sure that the increase doesn't harm his medical care in any way or his stability in any way. Okay, I've heard both sides of this, and I do believe, based on Miss Lewis's testimony on cross, that we need to take a step back and look at where we are in this case and where we need to be at this point in time. I'm glad to hear that the parents are working on things, but I think that I agree with Ms. Fuller. We should be further along by this point. But instead of looking backwards, we're going to look forwards, okay? Because I want you both to understand that I've had a couple of long hearings and trials recently with special needs children, and it didn't end well for the parents because they didn't take this stuff seriously early on. And we have the opportunity here to avoid that. You have the opportunity to avoid that. You have the opportunity to really buckle down and engage in your services and take everything seriously. No more canceling things unless it's life or death. You're in a CPS case, and if you're ordered to do something, the only reason you shouldn't is if it's life or death, because your child's safety and permanency with you or with somebody else depends on whether or not you engage in these services 100%. I understand things happen in life, things come up, but for Ms. Fuller to be aware of what I would agree with are some lapses in progress to this point, and to articulate that with so much detail tells me that we've got work to do. So I'm not going to beat you over the head with what you haven't done. I'm going to encourage you to get on the ball and get moving, because this case has a timeline and it will end. And if you're not done with these things by the time it ends, it's not going to be a good result. So I'm going to find that you're both in minimal compliance with your family plan of service, that you both have a copy of it, and that you both understand what's expected of you based on Ms. Lewis's testimony. But I'm also going to make some findings that there's been, whether there were one or two or whatever it is, there's been some therapy cancellations. We haven't done the special needs parenting yet. Haven't attended enough of the appointments for the child. Haven't attended enough counseling sessions. let's get on those things. Let's get that done. 100% effort. I'm hearing different things about a home study. There's not a motion to place on file today. So I'm not going to make any moves today, but we need to look into that further. And one way or the other, we either need to look at whether or not that's a viable option so that the parents can get more engaged with their child, or whether it's just not something we can do. So I'm going to order the parties to have a staffing, and you can do it virtually in 30 days. And what I want discussed at that staffing is, where are we with this potential placement? Do we rule it out? Is it something we can do? Because I don't want to come back at our permanency review before final order still having this question out there of whether or not this McLeod is an appropriate placement. So check on that. And then the parents' progress on any delayed or incomplete services. I'm also going to order the parents to be trained in the G button care. I'm going to find that it's not safe to return the child to either parent at this time, and at this time, neither parent has fully addressed the concerns. I'll make a finding that the home study was approved, but not all parties are in agreement. And I'm going to find that it's in the best interest of the child to remain in the temporary managed conservatorship of belong / the department. All that being said, these cases are designed to reunify your family, and everything's in place right now for your family to be reunified. You just have to do the work and you have to get it done. And I think today is a good wake-up call, if you will, halfway through the case to say, okay, we've only got really about 4.5 months left before the department and belonger they're going to want to go to trial. So you've got a lot of work to do in 4 months, but you can do it. There's no reason why you can't do it. You're both capable adults, and you've got a whole team of people here who are behind you and want you to get it done. So we'll be back for our next hearing August the 9th, 2024 at 9:30. August 9th, 2024 at 9:30. I have to admonish you both, the state of Texas gives parents in CPS cases 12 months to demonstrate that you can provide a safe, stable, violence and drug-free home for your child. If you cannot do so within that time period, then your rights to your child are subject to restriction or further restriction as they are now, or termination. Mr. Dolezal, is there anything I failed to address?
No, Your Honor.
Can I say one thing, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
I do want to commend the parents for going to Houston. They go every week and they're very engaged in that visitation. So that's why I would prefer that child go back with them over someone else. But they just have to understand all these therapies. It's really important. They're seeing him grow, but I'm concerned that they don't have the knowledge of where he should be, actually. I mean, he's doing great for what he's doing now, but he's so far behind. But I do want to commend them for going to Houston, because that takes a lot, and we don't see that. And I've never had any negative feedback about their visits. So, I mean, I do want to commend them for that.
And that's why I said I don't want to. I think I used the words beat them over the head for what they haven't done. I want to just encourage them to ante up and get more involved, because I do recognize that they have been working and have been making progress, and certainly don't want to overlook that. So thank you for that, Ms. Ford. Okay, well, good luck to you, parents. Thank you all for your time and your service. If nothing further, all parties are excused.
Thank you.
No, objection.
All right, with that, then, Mr. Dolezal, will you please begin the announcements?
Yes, John Dolezal for the department.
Bendele Nix, belong permanency specialist.
Lindsay Ligon, belong permanency supervisor.
Remington, attorney for the father, Chris Carter.
Alana Pearsall, attorney for the mother, who is not present, and I'm not ready.
Anna Swallow, attorney ad litem for the child.
Goldie Rabson, Hill Country Casa, guardian ad litem supervisor. Kim, if you'll.
Kim Richardson, Hill Country Casa, guardian ad litem for Emma.
We've also got an intervener, Ms. Stevens, and her attorney, Ms. Kribel, who are not with us today. Has there been some update that I'm not aware of on their participation?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Great. Ms. Nix, let's go over your report. Emma is 9. She is currently placed with fictive kin in Bendele County. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that placement safe and appropriate, meeting her needs?
Yes, it is.
Is it in her best interest to remain in that placement?
Yes,
Is there any Indian child heritage in this case?
not that I'm aware of, Your Honor.
Did you all develop a permanency goal at your FTC?
Yes, we did. The primary permanency goal is family reunification with Mr. Carter, as Emma was residing with him when she was removed. The concurrent goal would be relative adoption if we're not able to reunify.
Is that placement the least restricted placement available?
Yes.
And Emma is up to date on all of her checkups?
Well, we had a little hiccup with her primary care doctor after she came into care and went with her aunt. The fictive kin and the school and myself have found the PCP there in Lake Hills not to be particularly responsive. So she was changing her primary care doctor to doctor here. I think it was Community First in Bernie. They had an appointment scheduled for last Monday, and then Emma got a round of fifth disease that apparently is making a sweep through the school there and is quite contagious. So when she saw the doctor for the sick visit, they apparently would not combine that with the well visit, and so she's rescheduled for Monday.
All right. Does she have any pressing medical issues right now, or does everything seem to be okay?
Well, we had plans with the PCP, Your Honor, which was unfortunate that she didn't get to keep this week's appointment. We do want further information about her frequent UTIs and the proper treatment for that. And then we had also discussed asking her PCP for a referral to a pediatric urologist to further, provide information on that issue, because it's kind of atypical in my experience.
Okay.
And then, oh, sorry, I forgot one thing. Two other appointments. Her father and grandmother had made an appointment for her with MHDD to follow up on her prescribed ADHD medication, because that was only being prescribed by the PCP, and we wanted a person who does that on a more regular basis. I took her to the MHDD appointment in April. It was turning out to be an intake and not an actual psychiatrist appointment. So we did the intake and we scheduled the psychiatric appointment. It's coming up on Monday. So she will have an appointment with a psychiatrist to discuss her currently prescribed ADHD medication. And then her father and grandmother had also taken her to a gastroenterologist in San Antonio. I took her to the follow-up. It was supposed to be for the labs and things that were done at the appointment that her dad took her to. When we walked in the door, the first thing they ask is, has she changed insurance recently? I was like, oh man. And so unfortunately, because of the red tape, it requires a referral from her current insurance provider and or PCP. The gastroenterologist, again, my issue with responsiveness from the PCP in Lake Hills was that while Emma and I were at the appointment, they attempted to reach out to her right then and there to get the authorization so we could keep the appointment. They never answered the phone. We waited around for a while. We ended up going back home. They scheduled a subsequent appointment, but they still had not gotten the authorization. So I've asked the current caregiver when she meets with the new PCP to ask for a referral. I don't necessarily want her to go to a new gastroenterologist. I think it was Healthy Guts in San Antonio. So we want her to go back there and be able to finish the appointment, just so we can be sure if there's any intestinal issues that are contributing to her frequent upset stomach and throwing up.
Okay. Well, that answers my next question. All that being said, do you think that all of her needs are being met as much as possible at this point in time?
Yes, Your Honor. I think given my explanation of the red tape that we've encountered and the unexpected hiccups, me and the caregiver, I believe, are doing the best we can right now.
Okay. Now, I had ordered that there would be no visitation with Mr. Carter until he addressed his methamphetamine addiction. So let's go ahead and segue to that. Did you all have a family group conference?
Yes, we did, Your Honor, on April the 24th. We met and facilitated it in person here in Bernie at the DFPS office. Mr. Carter came in person with his mother, Ms. Stevens, and met with our FGC facilitator, CASA, and Belong in person, and then the other parties that participated virtually. He came to the meeting. He provided, good, solid information. It was a productive meeting. He participated in the development of the task and services on his family plan of service. At the end of the meeting, I obtained his signature on that document and I provided him a copy of it for him to take with him that day. And as you said, with the substance abuse, that is priority one in this case. And I reached out to Lifetime Recovery because he had previously been referred to them for a substance abuse assessment, but had not wanted to participate pending court orders. I followed up with them and they would prefer that he take the OSAR and then do an intake with them in which they would do a substance assessment on their own, and then he could be admitted to their inpatient program. Unfortunately, OSAR can be kind of hit or miss. Sometimes you call and they're available tomorrow, but in this case, that was not what happened. They are not able to see him until May the 29th, and I informed him that the soonest available appointment is May 29th for that OSAR.
All right. Let me jump back. I don't think that I ruled on this. Pearsall is not ready, but my understanding is the mother still has not been served, correct?
Yes, that's correct. She's reportedly homeless in the Lake Hills community, has no phone, has no fixed address. The only thing we know that has been reported is that she intermittently goes to the Methodist church there in Lake Hills on Monday evenings for dinner. I know the previous worker, Miss Gonzalez, reported leaving a lot of paperwork there for her. So if she had gone to the church, she would have been given the documents, we hope, and that she would have reached out to Miss Gonzalez, who would have referred her to me. On the day I picked up Emma for the MHDD appointment while I was in the area, I went over to Lake Hills, and attempted to leave my business card at the church, but the church was locked up that day and there wasn't anybody there, and I haven't had another chance to go back out there.
Okay, thank you. So, Ms. Pearsall, just for the record, you're not ready as granted. The court will not make any orders as to the mother today. So you created a family plan of service with the father, and he participated in the creation of that plan. Did he review and sign it?
Yes, he did.
Is it narrowly tailored to address the concerns that brought Emma into care?
Yes, it is.
And is it in her best interest to make the family plan of service an order of the court?
Yes, it is.
Does Mr. Carter have a copy of the family plan of service?
Yes, I handed him a paper copy when we finished the meeting on the 24th.
All right. Now, my previous order had been that there was to be no contact until he addressed his addiction. Do you believe that the actions he has taken since we were here April the 12th to today, May 10th, constitute addressing his addiction that would make it appropriate for him to visit with the child? Or do you think that visiting with the child is still not appropriate at this time?
I know that he's made best efforts. I commend him for meeting with me prior to the FGC and completing an FSNA. Asked him a lot of questions, and he was very forthcoming with information to me, which I appreciated. He came to the FGC again and participated. I wish he would have gone ahead and gone through with the substance abuse assessment during the family-based case, but that's water under the bridge. He signed the release of information as soon as he could, and so I could submit that request. It's not within his control that the timing of that assessment is not until the end of May. I do know that Emma is not happy about not being able to see her dad. I tried to help her with that, of like, she's feeling like you're ordering her not to see her dad. I tried to make her understand, while keeping it on her level, that it's her dad that's not allowed to see her. I was a little concerned about Mr. Carter not being able to get into the OSAR until the end of the month. That's a long wait for them to be able to have a visit. If the parties are in agreement and the court is okay with it, I would be able to facilitate at least one visit between now and the OSAR. I think that could be very reasonable for Emma and for Mr. Carter. I will add, Your Honor, since you asked if he'd done everything. The only thing I was concerned about is that Mr. Carter did go for a drug test when I asked him to. I requested it kind of late on the 25th. He went the morning of the 26th. His UA was negative. He submitted to them taking a hair sample, but his hair is quite short and they got an insufficient sample to test. And I called the lab to find out why they didn't get enough of a specimen. And they reported that he knew that they didn't have enough hair from his head hair, and they offered to take some from his beard, but he declined. I was happy that his UA was negative. I was disappointed that he didn't go ahead and do everything possible to facilitate that drug test just for a baseline.
Okay. All right. And then what about contact with the grandmother?
Per your court orders, you said no contact for 2 weeks, which we abided by, but Ms. Stevens was keeping track on the calendar, and 2 weeks to the date was the 26th. We initiated phone calls. I do conference calls by calling the placement and then calling Ms. Stevens, and we've consistently participated in visits 3 times a week as ordered since the 26th when they started. We did miss the call last night, but the caregiver had a conflict and wasn't able to do it. So we have one scheduled for this evening. I would categorize Ms. Stevens's participation in those phone calls as very appropriate and encouraging. When Emma's a little hard on herself, her grandmother seems to know just what to say to make her feel better. They always both sound very happy to talk to one another. It was quite pleasing when Emma was telling her grandmother about her 5th disease earlier this week. And then before the phone call ended, she said, Grandma, when I talked to you, I instantly felt better.
Good.
I know there's a strong bond.
Good. When we were here in April, there was a lot of testimony about Emma having oozing rashes and things on her legs. Has that been addressed?
When I was with her, Your Honor, I didn't see anything. I think there was one injury to the inside of her elbow that had been concerning. It may be that she just has unusual scarring. There was almost like a white place, like had a rug burn or something there, but she showed it to me. She showed me her knees. I didn't see anything concerning, but I will ask the caregiver to have the PCP take a look at that.
Okay. All right. Mr. Dolzel, any questions for Ms. Nix?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Pearsall?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Rudkin?
Just a couple. So the intake is scheduled for May the 29th, 2024. Is that correct, Ms. Nix?
Yes, it is.
And that's the quickest date we could get just due to circumstances out of Mr. Carter's control.
Yes.
And of course, addressing his addiction issues is kind of a broad brush question, but is it your opinion that he has addressed it to the extent he can at this point? I mean, he was cooperative, he was receptive to the treatment. I think you mentioned he's making his best efforts. Do you feel like he's appropriately at this time addressing his addiction issue?
Yes. It just, if I can add, it is imperative that he not miss this appointment.
Right. Got it.
I don't know when we'll get another one. So.
And the UA or UI came back negative, correct?
The UA negative, the hair test wasn't able to be tested
Right.
because the sample was too small.
And you could recommend a visit at this time with a supervised visit with Mr. Carter and Emma?
Yes.
Okay. No other questions.
Ms. Swallow?
Thank you. Ms. Nix, are we looking at other rehabs besides Lifetime Recovery?
No, there aren't a lot of men programs in this area. I thought it would be in his best interest, especially if we were able to facilitate visitation while he's in treatment, to stay local. So no, I haven't searched out any other options for rehab other than the one in San Antonio.
Okay. Do you think maybe we could broaden that net a little bit just to see if there's something else?
We could. It may still require him going through an OSAR before he could be referred to the inpatient program, but I could certainly look into, see if there are other men's programs that maybe wouldn't require an OSAR and would do their own assessment.
Okay, so the court order is not enough. We need that OSAR.
Yes, I believe so. I told the assessor that called me to schedule the OSAR that I have a court order that stipulates that Mr. Carter is to go into inpatient, but they still have to complete the assessment.
Okay. In regards to Emma, are you going to be requesting, you may have stated this, so I'm sorry, but when she goes to her new PCP, in addition to the gastro referral, are we also going to be requesting a pediatric urologist referral?
Yes, I've asked the caregiver to ask the doctor for that. Yes.
Okay. And she started weekly therapy, correct?
They did their intake last week and he was supposed to be seeing her at the school today.
Okay. And so on the 13th, that's her psychiatric appointment?
Yes, to review her prescribed ADHD medication.
Thank you. Is she also scheduled for a psychological evaluation?
No, that's on my list of things to get going on, but I will schedule her a psychological.
Okay, but she is scheduled for her dental, correct?
I haven't confirmed that with the caregiver. Mr. Carter did tell me that MLS went to a dentist here in Bernie, and so I recommended that she just follow up with that dentist to schedule another dental because they have her history and her records, but I have not confirmed for certain that that's been scheduled.
Okay, I'll represent to you that it is. It's next Thursday.
Thank you. Appreciate the help.
Sure. Do you think it's prudent at this time to go ahead and start in person with the grandmother? In-person visits between Emma and her grandmom?
Yes, due to I know that that's Emma's desire and it certainly is Miss Stevens' desire. I have not had any concerns during my involvement with Miss Stevens. Like I said, I think she's totally supportive, appropriate, and encouraging. So I'm ready and willing and able to start those visits, as we agree upon.
Are there any other services that Mr. Carter can initiate while he's waiting on his OSAR?
I was looking over the list of things that I'm asking him to do. He certainly should go ahead and follow through. And I'm sorry that we haven't talked about that with him, but he should follow through on what we discussed at the FGC is following up with MHDD. He has told me that he was diagnosed manic depressive when he was a teenager and he had been prescribed medications. I think it's worthwhile for him to do a more current MHDD follow-up for that. And also too, because he reported that the meth helps with his migraine headaches, which can be quite debilitating for him. I would like for him to explore with his PCP options for treating his migraines. In the meantime, it had occurred to me that I have not set up a psychological, and I may be able to do that prior to his entering treatment. The other things such as therapy and the psychosocial will need to wait until probably after treatment. There's no point in referring him and getting him started and then having him not be available. But yes, I would encourage him to, and I can talk with him more about that, follow through with HDD, talk to his PCP about his migraines, and then I will get him a psychological set up before he has his OSAR on the 29th.
Okay, is there anything he can do to address the meth addiction before the OSAR? For example, NA meetings, anything like that?
Yes, and that would be to his benefit to source out some community resources for AA, NA meetings. He may know of some. He may have already done that. I'm not certain. I haven't asked him.
Okay. Are you in favor of visits with Dad once he submits to the hair test?
If we need to put conditions on it, I'm certainly comfortable with putting conditions on it. I know Mr. Carter assured me numerous times that he would do whatever it takes. So if we need another hair test to motivate him to follow through with it this time and then have a visit, I'm okay with that.
Well, I guess my point is the hair test was not successfully completed, correct?
True.
Okay, so that would be, everything you've asked him to do so far in regards to recovery, it sounds like he's doing it. That's the one thing, though, in your testimony that sounds like still needs to be followed through on.
True.
Okay, thank you. I pass the witness.
Anything further from anyone else regarding testimony or evidence?
No, Your Honor.
No.
Okay. Ms. Swallow.
Thank you, Judge. Emma's doing well in her placement. They are very supportive of her. She enjoys her visits with her grandmom. I know she'd love to see her dad. I am disappointed too that the hair test was not successful, but it could be easily remedied. And so I'm requesting that he be reordered to submit to that. And once that is done, if in fact he has done everything that's been asked of him that he could possibly do, I believe that I don't see the harm in allowing Emma to be able to see her dad at this point. I don't see him being defiant with the court at this point. And if he submits to that test, I advocate that the placement continue, and I believe it to be in her best interest.
Thank you. Paso, Ms. Richardson.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Judge. CASA also believes that the current placement be continued, that Emma seems to be very happy there and comfortable and safe. We do want to make sure that that referral for the pediatric urologist be carried through as soon as possible, and the psychological evaluation be done quickly also. I also wanted to bring up the play therapy. It was recommended by the CANS assessment, and I wondered if we could double check on the play therapy being started. And CASA would also agree with Mrs. Swallow that Mr. Carter submit to the hair follicle test and it being successful before visitations occur. And we believe that's in the best interest of Emma. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, for CASA, we would also ask that you order Mr. Carter not to shave his beard for the hair strand drug test, please.
Thank you. For the purposes of the status hearing, court finds there's no Indian child heritage in this suit. Court finds that the mother has still not been served, and the court makes no orders as to the mother at this time. Court finds that the parties, their family group conference, developed a family plan of service and agreed on a permanency goal of family reunification with Mr. Carter. Court finds that the concurrent goal is relative adoption. At this time, the court finds that that is in the best interest of the child. Court finds that the placement for Emma at this time is safe and appropriate, meeting her needs and in her best interest to continue. Court finds that at this time it is the least restrictive placement available. Court finds that her checkups are pending and that Belong is looking into getting all of these things updated, pending a appointment scheduled for next week on Monday. Court finds that her medication review at this time it's unknown. However, she is going to have an appointment with her psychiatrist to look into her prescriptions. As requested, I'm going to order that Belong follow up on the pediatric urologist, the psychological evaluation, and the play therapy. Court finds the parties held a family group conference, developed a family plan of service for Mr. Curtis, and that the family plan of service, Carter, not Curtis. The family plan of service is appropriate and in the best interest of the child. The family plan of service is narrowly tailored to address the concerns that brought Emma into care. And as of today, Mr. Carter has a copy of the family plan of service and he reviewed it and signed it. As of today, it's not safe to return the child to Mr. Carter, nor has Mr. Carter fully addressed all of the concerns that brought Emma into care. Court finds that continued contact with the grandmother is appropriate and the parties may increase visitations with her as agreed. Regarding Mr. Carter's cooperation, the court finds he is cooperating with Belong / the department. I'm going to order him to resubmit to the hair test. No altering of any of your hair, whether it's your beard or it's the hair on your head, wherever, and whatever sample they want to take in order to test you, you're ordered to submit to that. So if they want to take it from your beard or your hair or whatever, you're ordered to submit to that. Once that's done, then I will allow a supervised visit between Emma and her father. We'll start at an hour. And if there's time and that visit is appropriate before that May 29th OSAR, then we can do another visit for an hour. Emma wants to see him. I do feel like he's making some progress here, and I think he's addressing the concern, which for me is a safety issue. I want you to understand, Mr. Carter, my order for no visitation, it's safety. I know you disagree, and that's fine, but I don't believe it's safe for somebody who's addicted to methamphetamine to be visiting with a child, and I think this case shows that. You're entitled to your opinion, but as long as we're here in this court, I want to make sure that you're addressing these things. And it sounds like from what Ms. Nix has had to say this morning, you're making a good faith effort to address what I believe is a safety concern for you and your daughter. So as long as you submit to that test and they get to take a sample, then you're going to get your visitation, and then you'll get another one if there's time. But I want to make sure something's very clear. I still believe that a safety issue exists. And so you've got to be, as Ms. Nix said, at that OSAR appointment on May the 29th. If you don't go to that, then we're going to have a big problem in this case, because it's my opinion that we are here largely because of a methamphetamine addiction, and we're going to address it one way or another. I'm proud of what you've done so far. I'm happy about what you've done so far. We've got to keep moving. We've got to keep moving in the right direction. We'll be back for our initial permanency hearing September 13th, 2024 at 1:30. September 13th, 2024 at 1:30. I have to admonish you, Mr. Carter, that the state of Texas gives parents in CPS cases 12 months to demonstrate they can provide a safe, stable, violence, and drug-free home for their child. If you can't do so within that 12-month period, your rights to your child are subject to restriction and or termination. We'll submit a discovery control plan and a pretrial scheduling order. Please review those for dates and times of future hearings and rules and deadlines pertaining to discovery in this case. Mr. Dolezal, is there anything I failed to address?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you all for your time and your service. Mr. Carter, good luck to you. And if nothing further, all parties are excused.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
No objection.
Yes,
No
sir.
objection.
No objections.
With that, Mr. Dolezal, will you please begin the announcements?
Yes, John Dolezal on behalf of the department.
Blaine Minen, permanency specialist with Belong.
Kathleen Savage, attorney ad litem for the children, Your Honor. I'm ready.
Forrest Stompard on behalf of the interveners with kinship placement, Your Honor.
Mr. and Mrs. Bendele, can I get you all to announce, please?
Yeah, Kathy Bendele, kinship placement.
Justin Bendele, kinship placement.
Goldie Rapson, Hill Country Casa, guardian ad litem for the children.
All right. Here for a permanency review after final order. Mr. Minen, what's our permanency goal at this time?
It's related adoption.
And child is still placed with the relatives who are the interveners in this suit in Kendall County.
Yes, they are.
Is that placement safe and appropriate, meeting child's needs?
Yes, sir.
The children's needs, excuse me. Is it in their best interest to continue?
It is.
Are they up to date on all their checkups?
Yes, they are.
Any concerns at this time?
There's been some behaviors in the boys lately that has been almost a little bit of a regression recently. We started family therapy with the caregivers and the boys. We're looking into anger management classes in the area. And I need to check on where we're at on the chosen referral, but we're also trying to provide them with services to kind of help ease those behaviors.
When do those behaviors start?
It was first brought to my attention about 2 months ago.
About 3 months ago.
Did they, Mr. Minen, did they get worse? I mean, how are the children informed of the termination?
So I spoke with the children after termination, and they seemed to already understand what was happening. I talked to them about it afterwards. They both confirmed that they were happy with the decision and they did not want to move back home. But that's the interaction I had with telling them.
But since then, that's where you've seen this regression is to continue?
I believe the behaviors started a little bit before termination, but the behaviors have continued.
Have they talked to the counselor about the termination in their sessions?
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Okay. Any other concerns with the children at this time?
No, that's the major concern right now.
Bailey exhibiting any types of behaviors like that, or just Remington and Brandley?
To my knowledge, Bailey hasn't exhibited any of those type of behaviors. It's just Remington and Brandley right now.
Are either of them receiving any psychotropic medications?
No, they're not.
When was the last time they saw somebody for a med review?
I would need to go back and check the date on that. I'm not sure the last time they had a med review.
All right. Any barriers to adoption at this time?
No. Well, we are working on getting Bailey's birth verification done. Miss Bendele informed me that she went to the clerk's office on Wednesday. I informed her to have everything turned in by today because Bailey turns 1 on Monday. She has not responded to my latest text. So if that isn't completed before Bailey turns 1, Belong will submit all the necessary documents to get that delayed birth registration through vital statistics.
Okay. Did you already order Heshig and redaction?
Yes.
And you still feel the permanency goal of relative adoptions in the best interest of the children?
Yes, I do.
All right. Mr. Dolzel, any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Savage.
Have you been able to identify a specific provider who can provide family counseling for the boys and placement?
So right now they are doing family counseling with their established therapist.
Okay. When was the last time you requested the therapy notes for the boys?
I believe I just received them, I believe earlier this week.
Okay. And would you be able to provide those to me after the hearing?
Yeah. Yes, I'll send those out.
And then you stated Miss Bendele, Megan Bendele, did not respond to your text message today. Have you tried calling her?
I have not called her today. She was responding. Okay. I've only sent her one text today. She hasn't responded. I'll call her after this to see if she needs any special accommodations in getting down to the clerk's office. I know she spoke yesterday that she said there was like 4 forms that she had to turn in. I asked her what forms she needed, but she hasn't responded yet.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Mr. Donbart?
No questions, Your Honor.
Any other witnesses, Mr. Dolzel?
No, Your Honor, we rest.
Anybody else have any other witnesses? All
Your
right,
Honor,
Ms.
I have
Savage?
a report and some requests.
Go ahead.
The boys are really struggling, and I know the behaviors are becoming a problem for placement as well. So I would like the court to order weekly therapy for the boys. It's my understanding placement has them set up for a psychiatric evaluation next week. So I did discuss with them, talking about with the psychiatrist about possibly getting Brandley in particular on some sort of medications to really help with his anger outbursts. So that is going to be in the works. I would also like a anger management course ordered for him for Belong to set that up within the next 2 weeks, at least send out the referral. And my understanding, family counseling has not started. I think they might have been provided names of counselors, but that has not begun. So if we can have an order that a referral, a specific referral for that, be sent out the next 2 weeks as well. I don't want to lose placement. They're in a great home with relatives, and I think we need to provide them all the supports we can to make sure that that placement is a forever option. And I'm afraid if we don't act quickly, we could lose that. I'd also like Belong to go out to the home of Megan Bendele today, because I don't trust that she picked up the forms or that she even filled out the forms. But if we don't have that turned into the clerk's office today, this court is well aware of the hoops we'll have to jump through with vital statistics, trying to get a birth record for Bailey. And that could be 6 months to a year before we're able to finalize an adoption for her, which I don't want to drag this out that long.
Okay, so to say again the last thing that you requested and the words that you used so I can make sure I understand. You want the forms to be turned in today?
Yes, so it is our understanding that if Megan Bendele fills out a delayed birth record and files it with Bandera clerks before Bailey turns 1, then they can issue that, expedite that without having to deal with vital statistics. If that doesn't happen by her first birthday, which is Monday, then we have to go the route of requesting a birth record from vital statistics, waiting for them to send back a response saying they don't have one, then them sending an application to the caseworker to fill out, then waiting that terrible elongated process for whatever it is that they do in vital statistics. We're about to have a change in caseworker. That always delays things. And whenever there's a new caseworker, that person has to send in a whole new application because vital statistics says you aren't the one who sent it in originally. It's a whole mess, which I know this court is very aware of. So if we could do that today, and I get that it's 2 and Bandera clerks, I think, close at 4, it's just a lot easier than dealing with all that.
Is Ms. Savage, is there some reason, or is there something I'm not aware of where there's been a difficulty in conveying that to the Bendeles or getting cooperation?
Your Honor,
mom and dad were pretty heavy into their addiction, so they're not necessarily the most reliable. But Ms. Harris just sent me an update. If Ms. Harris can fill us in.
I actually heard from Ms. Bendele, Your Honor, by text this week. She said that she wanted to meet with me on Monday to give me the paperwork, that she already had it done. I'm thinking that maybe she doesn't understand the need for it being filed today. I will text her right now to see if she can take it there herself or if somebody from Belong can come get it from her right now.
Okay. Then maybe I've been misunderstood or mistaken this whole time because we've got a lot of Bendeles in this case. You're not having any problem with placement?
No, from mom.
Okay. All right. I wanted to make that clear on the record because that would have been very surprising to me.
No.
So I just want to make sure that I wasn't misunderstanding something. Okay. Well, I can understand that. I'll make that order, but like you said, we know why we're here, and I don't know how much she's gonna comply with that, but we'll do our best. Okay. Casa, anything you want to add?
The only thing that I'd like to add to the attorney ad litem's report is I understand that the play therapist has recommended neuropsychological evaluations for both the boys, and that the Bendeles have had a difficult time identifying somebody who would do that evaluation and have it paid for by Medicaid. So I would ask that Belong work to find a provider to do that neuropsychological in addition to the other services that we're discussing.
Is that something Ms. Vega can help us with?
Yes, I can definitely help with that.
Ms. Perez Vega, here you are all the time in all these hearings, and finally on a Friday afternoon, we need you.
That's what I'm here for, Your Honor.
All right. Okay, then these are the orders that I have written down, and I think comport with what you've requested today. So let me make my findings, and then I'll make some orders. And if I missed something, please let me know. For the purposes of the permanency review after final order, the court finds the permanency goal of relative adoption is appropriate and in the best interest of the children. Court finds that the placement with the Bendele's relatives, is a safe, appropriate, meeting the needs of the children and in their best interest to continue. Court finds that the children are up to date on all their checkups and that there are some concerns with the behavior of the older two boys. Court finds there are no other known barriers to adoption other than Bailey's birth certificate. And the court makes the following orders. I'm going to order Belong to inform the therapist for the children that we need to explore any issues related to the termination with the boys. I know it may have started before the termination, but doing this for as long as I have, the way I've seen children, whether they want to go home or not, react to terminations, it fleshes itself out in so many different ways. And I just want to make sure that if these two boys are having, because Bailey's not, and they are, if they're having some internalized feelings about this, we need to let them talk that out, make sure they're not harboring that, and make sure that that's not part of this regression. I mean, it could be a number of things, but that's something that we could definitely explore. So we'll order Belong to make sure to talk to the counselor about that and to explore that in therapy. I'm going to order that the therapy be weekly. But I don't, as I order that, I don't want to put a difficult burden on Mr. and Mrs. Bendele. So let's be cognizant and mindful of the fact that they need to be in therapy weekly if they can be, but we need to be flexible too. So that is, I want it ordered to where I'm ordering weekly therapy contingent upon the ability of the Bendeles to get them there every week. If a week is missed here or there because they have a busy schedule or there's some issue, then I'm not going to fault them for that. And then we're going to order the anger management prong that was requested. It's good to get in on that early, considering how we got into this case. And then order that the mother, Ms. Bendele, submit the forms to the clerk prior to 4 o'clock today in Bandera County. for the birth certificate. Shot in the dark, but I've made the order. I'm going to order Belong to follow up with the neuropsych with through Miss Perez Vega. And I'm going to make a finding that, or I'm going to order a med review for the older two boys and find that they're not receiving any psychotropics at this point. Maybe that's a viable option. I think they need to see a physician to determine whether or not anything is needed. Of course, going to find that reasonable efforts have been made through the procurement of a HESHIG and the redaction and working with the placement to continue towards the relative adoption, maintaining contact. Our next hearing is going to be October the 11th, 2024 at 11 a.m. October 11th, 2024 at 11 a.m. Anything I failed to address?
No, Your Honor, I was just going to ask the Bendele's if there was anything else, any other orders they're thinking the children might need that would benefit them or their family at this time.
We were under the impression that both boys probably need to undergo the anger management. They both deal with it differently. One's more of a crier, the other's more of an act out. But I think they both are dealing with some internal issues as far as whatever it may be, PTSD from the before, whatever's been going on, I mean, psychologically in the head with the termination, who knows where all it's first from. But obviously, I think both of them would benefit from that.
And thank y'all. I think it's more not related to termination. It could be, but I think it's more they're in a comfort level and the honeymoon stage is over. And on the Miss Vega, on the neuropsychological evaluation, we do have a regular psychological evaluation next week. The therapist and I both as well want to dive more into neuro. I've called 8 providers myself. Superior has called 4 for me, and they're just not there for pediatrics. So hopefully you'll have better luck.
Yes, on that note, if you do get the psychological, the neuropsychological won't be covered unless we have the signed court order, which is perfectly fine. We could do both, but we just need that signed court order for the second one. For the neuropsych, you may need a primary care physician's to come in and to actually make the referral for that. Some providers don't necessarily need that. I see that you're in a zip code that's close to San Antonio, so there might be a little bit more options there. But we'll definitely have the service coordinators dig into that some more for you.
Thank you. The closest one we found was Austin. So we have tried to expand quite far out.
So you're willing to travel to Austin?
Yes.
Okay, I'll let them know that too.
Anything else? Okay.
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Bendele. Thank you, everybody else, for your time and your service. And if nothing further, all parties are excused.
Thank you, Your Honor.
080 Department
Thank
of
you.
Family Protective Services
Your
versus
Honor.
Julie Jennings and Cameron Hendon in the 198 Judicial District Court of Bandera County, Texas. Any objection to the court holding these proceedings outside of Bandera County via Zoom and YouTube?
No objection.
No objection.
No objection.
Mr. Dolezal, will you please begin the announcements?
Yes, John Dozel for the department, excuse me.
Kimberly Rios, family-based caseworker.
Anna Swallow, attorney ad litem for the respondent mother, Julie Jennings. Ms. Jennings, could you please state your name?
She doesn't have any audio.
Okay.
Maureen Yanis, attorney ad litem for the father, Cameron Hendon. Mr. Hendon, will you unmute and announce, please?
You'll have to press the unmute button, Mr. Hendon. Anybody else that needs to announce while he's trying to figure that out? I think that's everybody.
Okay. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Can you state your name, please?
Oh, my name is Cameron Allen Hendon.
All right. And sir, if you could please keep your device still and stay still, that would be very helpful.
Okay. Let me get inside the truck. I'm sorry. I'm at work.
I understand.
Okay.
Harris, attorney ad litem for Tracy.
Is anybody going to need to take testimony from Miss Jennings?
No, Judge.
All right.
No,
Well,
Your
she's
Honor.
got no audio, so we're just going to keep moving along. And somebody wants to send her a message in the chat. Let her know that we can't hear her, she can't hear us, but we're going to move forward. Okay, Miss Rios, you're giving testimony?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Last time we were here was March 19th, and court ordered several services for the parents to begin at that time and to submit to UA and hair strand test. How are they with their compliance as of today?
Judge, I did mark them in compliance with their services. They have been engaging and following the court orders. They have not missed any therapy sessions. They both participated in their drug and alcohol assessment. I did just receive those results back. I have not shared with the attorneys yet, but I can provide a verbal update to the court if you would like me to do so on what those recommendations were.
Please.
So Ms. Jennings was asked she has conditions with her parole, and so they were just asked that she follow through with those conditions, and part of it was an IOP program. She has been in communication with her parole officer, and they are pending getting those going, but they know that they need to be done. And then Mr. Hendon was asked to gather some information, maybe participate in an online marijuana class. And I offered also to provide some the effects of marijuana use and parenting. We have some forms too that I can provide him as well. Those were the recommendations from both of their assessments.
Do you foresee the parents have any problem complying with those recommendations?
No, Your Honor. They've been really compliant with everything.
Do you think it's in the best interest of Tracy for this case to stay on the court's docket at this time?
I do, Your Honor. I think being allowed, all parties allowed to seeing the successful completion of the court-ordered services is important, Your Honor.
Our next compliance date is August the 9th. Do you think we're going to need that full 3 months?
I don't think so, Judge. With speaking with both of their therapists, they're engaging and really processing things. I don't anticipate them needing another 3 months. And also, I believe with Miss Julie being accountable with parole officer, I think that she would be able to continue that IOP, but she'd have to answer to them if she didn't complete that.
Okay. Mr. Dolzel, any questions for Ms. Rios?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Swallow?
Ms. Rios, are there any other services my client needs to engage in besides the IOP and therapy?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. You didn't mention the drug testing. I would still like to continue monitoring that.
Okay, thank you.
Jonas?
Yes, thank you, Judge. Ms. Rios, this online class that Mr. Hennon is supposed to take, how long is that program?
They didn't put a specific amount of time, but he and the assessor provided information that there's like a 4-hour course, I think it was, that he would participate in.
Okay, I guess what I'm trying to elicit is it's not like a months-long course. It would take us, 90 days farther into this case.
That's correct. It's just to give him some information on the effects of parenting when using marijuana. So it's a quick class, and I have some brochures as well that I can provide him.
Okay, thank you. I'll pass.
Ms. Harris?
Is Tracy on Medicaid right now?
She's not currently.
And is she getting WIC?
I don't believe so, no ma'am.
So what can your office do to help get those set up before we're gone out of this case?
I think like if Miss Julie needs transportation, if it's a transportation issue, I'm happy to take her and Julie to the Medicaid office or the WIC office to try to get set up on that. And it's not a lack of trying on her end. I know that she has been denied Medicaid and she was trying to get some more information provided so that she could get the baby on there. But it's just important that she's on there so she can continue following up with a primary care physician.
Okay, and you plan to continue assisting her in that process?
Yes, I'm happy to help in any way I can.
And the baby's sleeping in a bassinet for right now, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And money is very tight for this family. Do you know any resources that you can reach out to maybe help them get a crib?
Yes, ma'am. We have a few. I'm happy to reach out.
Thank you. And since she doesn't have Medicaid, has Tracy been making it to all of her regularly scheduled pediatrician appointments?
No, ma'am. The only appointment I know her to have was the one that was court ordered that Mr. Hendon took her to. And that was through Peterson Regional.
No further questions, Judge, just my report.
Anything else, Mr. Dolzel?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Harris.
Your Honor, Tracy's doing well. Miss Jennings looked great, the best I've seen her in a long time. They need Medicaid. She needs to be having regular doctor's appointments. She needs to have Medicaid. She needs to have WIC to help out with that stuff. And I know that transportation is an issue, so I would like for that to be offered to her next week to get that going. Also, she's in need of a crib, so I appreciate any assistance Belong can provide in getting one of those to her. Another resource that may be available, I'm not sure, with this being the type of case it is, and with there being a legal presumed father with Miss Jennings being married, but Mr. Hendon being the father listed on the birth certificate, I don't know if it's possible to request DNA through this case because Mr. Hendon does have Indian American heritage and medical benefits and things like that through that tribal membership. And Tracy may be eligible for that stuff if it's determined that he is, in fact, the biological father. So any assistance in trying to get that would be appreciated. But again, I understand we're limited what we can do in this kind of case. And I also forgot to ask Belong, Your Honor, about whether a parent as teachers service has been considered for this case. Ms. Jennings seems to be doing great with Tracy. Tracy seems to be doing well, on track milestone wise, but I think a little bit of help in the home would not be harmful because we do have previous cases. And I just want to make sure that we're not getting another call a year from now.
Mr. Dolzel, are you aware of any prohibition in a required participation court case that would prevent me from ordering Belong to work with the parents to get Medicaid set up?
I'm not aware of any, Your Honor. It sounds reasonable to me.
Well, just based on the testimony I've heard, I've maintained that they're both indigent for purposes of this case. So that'll be a finding in the order is that the parents are still indigent. So I'm going to find that the parents are in compliance with the court-ordered services, that it's in the best interest of Tracy for this case to remain open. Our next hearing is going to be August the 9th, 2024 at 10:30. It's August 9th, 2024 at 10:30. And in the meantime, I will make an order for Belong to assist the parents with Medicaid. And what was the other request you had, Ms. Harris?
WIC, Medicaid, crib, possibly DNA, and possibly parents as teachers.
Okay, the DNA, that might be a tougher nut to crack in this case. Because we're not.
And it's not something that's essential. I just wanted to throw it out there as another possible route to another resource for her, because I understand her dad is able to get his health insurance through the tribe.
I don't know if under a 264-203 case, I have authority to order a DNA test. I don't have a problem ordering it. I'm just looking at the statute real quick to see if there's, under the code, I have the authority to make any order that's in the best interest of the child. So I don't have a problem ordering that. You might run into a wall with the Attorney General when you get there. So,
Your Honor, is adjudication enough?
I'm sorry?
Is adjudication of him as the father enough?
In my experience, DNA has been required by the tribes. And they don't actually provide that service.
All right, well, I'm gonna order it. Order a DNA test. The beauty of our legal system is that if somebody above my pay grade says no, then it means no. And nobody gets hurt in the process. Anything else that you requested, Wick? So let's Ms. Rios, let's do what we can to get them set up for all that.
Yes, Your Honor.
I think I've covered everything else, correct?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. Ms. Jennings, it looks like you might be able to hear me now. I'm glad to see you with your baby. I can't hear you because you're still muted, but I would like to.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I can hear y'all at least. Now I can hear y'all. And apparently you can hear me, so.
I can hear you now.
Yes, sir. I don't know how the Zoom setting up top was not, it was off somehow. I don't know.
Well, it's working now.
Yes,
But
sir.
I want to make sure you and Mr. Hendon hear me when I say that I want to get this done in this case. I don't want to go any further than this. So continue doing what you're doing. I'm really proud of you.
Yes, Your Honor.
You know, we've had we've worked together before, so to speak. And
Yes, sir.
so I'm glad to see you are where you are right now. It makes my heart
Yes,
happy.
sir. Thank you.
So you keep working hard. Okay.
Thank you.
But
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hendon, you take care of your family.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
That'll be all for today. I think I've covered everything. Thank you all for your time and your service. That concludes our docket for today. All parties are excused, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you, Judge.
Your Honor.
Judge.
Thank you.
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
I want to apologize for all my apologies today.
Let's just blame it on Mr. McKeska.
It's his fault. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's blame it on Mr. McKeska, and we'll let him know later that it's his fault.
I appreciate it. All right. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Dozel. Have a good one.